Turning 70 didn't feel like a finish line. It felt like walking into a quieter room where every choice mattered more. Retirement isn't about stopping. It's about living smarter with more care and intention. But let me tell you, there are a few things I wish someone had told me to get in place before I left the working world behind. These aren't luxury items. They're simple things that make everyday life easier, calmer, and a little more yours. Today, I'm sharing 7 things you should not retire without. If you haven't checked these off, now might be the time. 1. A set of clothes that makes you feel confident at any age. When I first retired, I thought clothes wouldn't matter much anymore. No more dress codes, no meetings, no office, just me, my home, and my time. So I did what a lot of folks do. I slipped into comfort mode. Sweatpants, oversized t-shirts, socks with holes, the kind of clothes that say, no one's watching. And for a while, that felt good. But slowly, something changed. I found myself avoiding mirrors. I'd catch my reflection in a window and think, who is that old guy? I wasn't feeling like myself anymore. I was still sharp, still active, still curious about life, but my clothes didn't reflect that. They made me feel invisible. And that's a dangerous feeling when you're retired. When the world stops expecting things from you, you have to expect more from yourself. One afternoon, I decided to do something simple. I cleaned out my closet. I got rid of everything that didn't make me feel good, not just physically, but emotionally. I kept a few pieces that fit well, that looked clean, that still had some shape. Then I bought a few new things, not fancy, not expensive, just better. A pair of jeans that fit right, a button-down shirt that made me feel put together, a lightweight jacket I actually liked wearing, and a comfortable pair of shoes that didn't look like they were made for hospital floors. It was the first time in years I put on an outfit and thought, yeah, this feels like me. Now, when I leave the house, even if it's just for a walk or a trip to the store, I put on something that feels intentional, not to impress anyone, but because it reminds me I still care about my health, my presence, my place in the world. Dressing well after retirement doesn't mean wearing a suit. It means choosing clothes that respect who you are today. Clothes that say, I'm still here, I still show up. It's a way to push back gently against invisibility, against the idea that retirement means fading into the background. You don't need a closet full of new clothes, but you do need a few outfits that make you want to stand tall, that make you feel seen, even if only by yourself. Don't wait until a wedding or a funeral to care about how you look. Care now, because how you dress can shape how you feel, and how you feel shapes how you live. So, before you retire, or even if you already have, go through your closet. Keep the pieces that make you smile. Donate the rest. Invest in just a few things that fit well, feel right, and carry you forward. Because how you show up each day still matters. Maybe now more than ever. 2. A reliable pair of reading glasses in every room. I don't know when it started exactly, but somewhere in my late 50s, the small print began to blur. Medicine bottles, appliance instructions, receipts at restaurants. It all looked like it was written by ants. At first, I resisted. I squinted. I held things farther away. I joked about my arms not being long enough. You've probably been there. Eventually, I gave in and bought a pair of cheap reading glasses from the drugstore. They did the job, sort of, but I kept losing them. I'd leave them in the living room, then go to the bedroom and need them again. Or I'd sit down to read and realize they were in the kitchen. You know the drill, back and forth, forgetting where they are, getting frustrated. Retirement is supposed to be more relaxed, not more annoying. One day, after misplacing my only pair for the 3rd time in a single afternoon, I finally said, enough. I drove to the store, bought 3 more pairs, and placed one in each room I spent time in, the living room, the bedroom, the kitchen. I even keep a backup pair in the glove compartment of my car. That small change made a big difference. No more frustration. No more feeling like I was chasing my own glasses all day. Now, when I need to check a label, read a book, or send a text, there's always a pair within reach. It's such a small thing, but it gave me back a sense of control. Reading glasses aren't expensive, but the feeling of being prepared, that's worth everything. It's not about vanity. It's about independence. You don't have to call someone to read your mail. You don't have to squint through menus or struggle to set your microwave. And here's another thing I learned. Not all glasses are equal. If you can, invest in a couple of quality pairs that won't break easily. Ones that sit comfortably on your nose and actually help your eyes relax instead of strain more. You might not need prescription lenses, just the right magnification and the right shape for your face. I know it sounds simple, maybe even obvious, but if you're still living with one worn-out pair of readers that you carry from room to room, consider making this change. Put a pair in every room where you read, cook, or relax. You'll save time, save energy, and maybe even save yourself a headache. Literally. It's not about preparing for an emergency. It's about preparing for your everyday life to run smoother. Retirement should feel easier, not more complicated, and something as small as a few pairs of glasses can go a long way in making that true. 3. A calendar system that works for you. People think that when you retire, you suddenly have all this free time and no reason to keep a schedule. I used to think that too. But then something strange happened. I started forgetting things. Not major things, but small ones. A lunch with a friend I meant to confirm. The day I was supposed to refill my medication. The trash pickup schedule. I wasn't too busy. I just wasn't paying attention. And it started to feel like my days were blurring together. After years of living by work calendars, meetings, and alarms, retirement felt like a relief. But freedom without structure? That can get messy. And for me, it did. I was missing things, not just appointments, but opportunities. I'd say, I'll call him tomorrow, and forget. I'll go next week, and never go. Days slipped through my fingers, and I started to feel less sharp. So, I brought something back into my life, a calendar. Not a complicated app, not a wall full of sticky notes, just one simple system that works for me. In my case, it's a small notebook with a 2-page spread for each week. I write down what I need to do, who I want to talk to, where I want to go. I keep it on the table where I drink my morning coffee. 5 minutes a day, that's all it takes. Other folks I know use a big calendar on the fridge. Some use apps with reminders. It doesn't matter what form it takes. What matters is that it helps you remember the life you still want to live. A calendar in retirement isn't about being productive. It's about being present. It helps you show up for the people and moments that matter. It gives shape to your time. And time, once you retire, becomes one of your most valuable resources. Not because it's scarce, but because it's yours. Since I started using a calendar again, I've missed fewer things. I've also done more. I go on walks more regularly. I schedule visits with my grandkids. I remember birthdays. I follow through on things I promised myself. That small notebook became a little tool for keeping my life full and steady. So, if you're nearing retirement or already there, and you feel like the days are starting to drift, try it. Find a calendar system that feels simple and enjoyable, not a burden, just a gentle guide to help you hold on to the rhythm of life, because freedom without intention can feel like floating. But with just a little structure, retirement becomes something else entirely. It becomes a life you're still actively living. A go-to meal. You can cook in 15 minutes. I'll be honest with you, after I retired, my eating habits went downhill faster than I expected. When I was still working, meals had a rhythm. Breakfast before work, lunch at noon, dinner around 6. Whether it was a sandwich or something more involved, I ate at regular times because my schedule kept me on track. But after I stopped working, that rhythm disappeared. And with it, so did my appetite for cooking. Some days I skipped breakfast altogether. Other days, I microwaved something frozen that tasted like cardboard. And a few times, I just poured myself a bowl of cereal for dinner, sat in silence, and told myself, good enough. But it wasn't good enough, not for my health, and not for my spirit. It wasn't that I didn't know how to cook. I used to help my wife in the kitchen all the time. I can follow a recipe, but the motivation wasn't there. Cooking started to feel like a chore, especially when you're only cooking for one. The prep, the cleanup, the energy, it all felt like too much. Then, one cold afternoon, I realized I hadn't eaten anything warm in 2 days. That hit me harder than I expected. I stood in my kitchen, hungry, but not wanting to make anything. And that's when it clicked. I didn't need to become a chef. I didn't need to make a 3-course meal. I just needed one meal, something fast, familiar, and nourishing that I could make any time with minimal effort. So I picked one: scrambled eggs with toast and a side of sliced tomatoes. Simple, cheap, quick, and comforting. I practiced it until I could make it in my sleep. Over time, I added a second go-to: rice with sautéed vegetables and canned tuna. Again, 15 minutes, no stress. Having a go-to meal changed everything. When I didn't feel like cooking, I still had an option. When I was tired or low, I didn't reach for junk. I could still care for myself with something warm and real. And that made me feel proud again, like I hadn't given up on taking care of me. It's not just about nutrition. It's about dignity. When you can feed yourself well, you feel more alive. You move better. You think clearer. You're more likely to invite someone over or eat outside or enjoy the taste of something that didn't come from a box. If you're getting close to retirement or already in it, find your go-to meal now. Keep the ingredients stocked. Write it down if you need to. Practice it until it's second nature. It doesn't have to impress anyone. It just needs to feed you. Food isn't just fuel, it's comfort. It's care. And after decades of working hard, you deserve to sit down with a plate of something good and know you did that for yourself. 5. A lightweight vacuum or cleaning tool you'll actually use. Let me tell you something they don't talk much about when it comes to aging. Keeping your house clean gets harder, but it matters more. When I was younger, cleaning was just another chore. Vacuum on Saturday, mop the floor, wipe down the counters. It wasn't a big deal. But as I hit my late 60s, and now into 70, those little tasks started to take more effort than I expected. My old vacuum cleaner was a beast. It was heavy, loud, clunky. Every time I needed to clean, I'd stare at it and think, do I really want to wrestle with that thing today? Sometimes I didn't. I'd skip a day, then another. Before I knew it, the dust had piled up. The corners looked grimy and the place just felt stale. It didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a burden. That's when I realized it wasn't that I didn't want a clean home. It was that my tools no longer matched my energy. So I made a change. I went out and bought a small lightweight stick vacuum. Nothing fancy, just something I could grab with one hand and zip around the room in 5 minutes without breaking a sweat. I also got a long-handled dustpan and a mop that wrings itself. No more bending down, no more squeezing with sore wrists. And you know what? I started cleaning more often, not because I had to, but because I could. It didn't feel like a project. It felt like a simple, manageable part of my day. Just 10 minutes to freshen up the space, and suddenly my living room felt brighter. My mood lifted. I felt more in control again. A clean home matters, especially when you're retired and you spend more time in it. It's not just about hygiene. It's about pride. It's about creating a space where you feel calm, capable, and safe. A space that reflects your self-respect, not neglect. I know a lot of folks our age still try to tough it out with old equipment. They say, "This still works," while dragging around a 30-pound machine that leaves them sore for hours. But if something is making your life harder than it needs to be, it's time to let it go. Invest in tools that match the life you're living now. Something light, quiet, easy to store, and easy to use. Ask your kids or grandkids to help you research. Test one out at the store. Don't be afraid to simplify. I used to think buying a new vacuum wasn't a big deal. But the first time I used that new stick vacuum, zipped through the hallways without pain, and looked around at a freshly cleaned home, I smiled. Because for the first time in a while, cleaning felt like something I could do, not something I had to fear. And that, my friend, is a good feeling to have when you're 70. 6. A place to write things down. Even if you don't call it a journal. I never thought of myself as the journaling type. That always sounded too serious, too personal. Like something teenagers did when they had a crush, or poets did when they sat under trees. I wasn't that kind of man. I was practical. A doer, not a writer. But something changed after I retired. It started with a small notebook I kept in the kitchen drawer. Nothing fancy, just a pad I used to jot down groceries. Or reminders for things I didn't want to forget, like calling the plumber or refilling a prescription. But one morning, I found myself writing more than a reminder. I wrote down a dream I had the night before. It was strange, a little blurry, but something about it lingered. So I wrote it down. That afternoon, I wrote a line about how quiet the house felt. The next day, I wrote about missing my old coworkers. Not the job, just the people. And before I knew it, I had a habit. It wasn't a diary. I still don't call it that. But it became a small space where I could speak without having to say the words out loud. Some days I write one line, other days a page. Sometimes I just list what I'm grateful for. Sometimes I write about a memory that popped into my head while doing dishes. There's no rule, no one to impress. It's just for me. What I've learned is this. Writing things down helps me feel more grounded. It clears the fog when my mind feels cluttered. It gives shape to feelings that don't always have names. And it helps me notice the good things, the little wins, the funny moments, the warm memories I might have forgotten otherwise. I've also noticed it helps with my memory. When I write something down, it sticks better. I remember what I did last Tuesday. I remember what I promised myself I'd do next week. That small act of writing, by hand, not typing, feels like exercising a muscle that keeps my mind sharp. If you're someone who says, "I'm not a writer, believe me," I get it. But this isn't about writing stories or making something perfect. It's about giving your thoughts a place to land, a place that's yours. No judgment, no audience, just a quiet corner of the page. You can use a spiral notebook, a stack of index cards, or the back of old envelopes if you want. What matters is that you write. Even just a little, even once a week. It's a way of saying, I'm still here, I still have something to say. And that feeling, that quiet confidence, matters more than ever in this stage of life. So don't wait for a big moment to start. You don't need a special occasion. You just need today. Open a page and let yourself be heard, even if no one else reads it but you, because your story is still unfolding, and it deserves to be written. 7. A simple system for bills and mail. If there's one thing that surprised me the most after retirement, it wasn't the silence or the slower mornings. It was the paperwork. I thought retirement meant less responsibility, but the truth is, the mail kept coming. Medical bills, insurance updates, letters from Social Security, credit card statements, bank notices, new policies, old ones. Everything still needed attention. And without the structure of a workday to keep me on track, I found myself putting things in piles. At first, I told myself I'd get to them later. But later became next week. And next week became a small mountain of unopened envelopes sitting on the kitchen table. The problem wasn't just clutter, it was stress. I started to worry I'd miss something important, a payment deadline, a renewal date, a medical update that couldn't wait. I realized I needed a system. Nothing complicated, just something that made it easier to stay on top of the paper trail of retired life. So I got a small file box. Inside, I labeled a few folders: utilities, healthcare, banking, insurance, personal letters. Then I bought a basic letter tray, the kind you'd find in any office. One tray for new mail, one for things to be paid or responded to, and one for things to be filed away when I had time. That was it. And it worked. Now when I get the mail, I don't toss it on the counter. I sort it. If it's junk, it goes straight to the recycling bin. If it's a bill or something I need to read, it goes into the tray. Once a week, usually Sunday morning with a cup of coffee, I sit down and take 15 minutes to go through everything. No more panic, no more forgotten payments. I also set up autopay for most of my monthly bills: electricity, internet, phone, so I wouldn't have to think about them. And for things I prefer to handle manually, like donations or occasional checks, I keep a small calendar near the file box with reminder dates. This system gave me peace of mind. It doesn't mean I never make mistakes, but it means I no longer feel buried. I feel like I'm still steering the ship. Retirement is not about letting go of responsibility. It's about making responsibility easier to manage. When your paperwork is organized, your mind is calmer. You sleep better at night. And if, heaven forbid, someone else needs to step in, your kids, your spouse, a friend, they'll know where to look. That's a gift in itself. If you're nearing retirement, start now. Pick one corner of your home, maybe a drawer, a shelf, a box, and make it your life center. Keep stamps, a pen, your reading glasses, a notepad, and your important papers all in one place. Because the less time you spend searching for things, the more time you'll have to enjoy what matters. Retirement doesn't give you a map. It gives you time, and it's up to you how you fill it. Looking back, the 7 things I've shared today weren't just about being more comfortable. They were about staying connected to myself, to my home, and to the life I'm still building, one day at a time. None of them were expensive. None of them required a big change. But together, they gave me back something even more valuable than time: peace. If you're preparing for retirement or already in it, take a moment to ask yourself, what small things could make your days easier, your mind clearer, your heart lighter? You don't need everything figured out. Just start with one thing, then another. Because this chapter of life isn't about slowing down. It's about showing up fully in the time we have left.